We are launching. Okay, got it. Okay.
I also suggest maybe turning on the transcript. I don't know if there's a translation for that though, but I hear some people like the transcript. I do not because it tends to be wrong. So it's distracting because it's wrong, but some people might find it helpful.
Yes. People can activate the automatic translation, and welcome everybody. We are now online. We are now live on YouTube. I'm going to present first the session in Spanish. Queridos amigos, muy buenas tardes para nosotros. Es un honor, es un placer contar con Diana Fisher y con Chirstine Tang en este conversatorio en vivo a través de YouTube. Vamos a conversar unos 30 minutos sobre el futuro y sobre cómo vemos esa línea de acción que debemos seguir alrededor de esa apropiación tan importante que hoy en día pues el mundo exige para enfrentar todas estas disrupciones y toda la complejidad que estamos viviendo, usando el pensamiento sistémico, aplicando el pensamiento sistémico, viviendo el pensamiento sistémico en todos los ámbitos. Entonces, bienvenidos todos. Recuerden que ustedes pueden activar los subtítulos automáticos en YouTube y podrán, pues, si tienen alguna dificultad con el inglés, pues podrán perfectamente seguirnos. Okay, welcome Diana and welcome Chirstine. Thank you for being with us today. It's a great pleasure. We already watched your presentations, and I guess it was amazing, and it was really interesting how you present your own experience, years, decades of experience about how we can practice education using system thinking and system dynamics in different levels. Thank you. It's an honor for us. We are very proud having you today. And maybe would you like to introduce a little bit yourself, and we can begin a little talk about, I think 30 minutes of talking about the future, how we can promote better strategies to try to try to achieve more people practicing system thinking and system dynamics in a school and also in life. I think we are in a really interesting time to try to apply system dynamics to face all the disruption, the climate change, the pandemic, of course. That's also a really interesting topic to talk about. How do you think education and education about system thinking and system dynamics could take advantage of about the situation, let me say that, to promote more and more learning and more spaces to practice system thinking and system dynamics. And welcome Diana, and welcome Chirstine. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you very much. This systems thinking and system dynamics are very close to my heart. And I believe very strongly that we must teach our children this particular skills, the skills and the thinking that have to do with dynamic complex systems. I have found that students are quite able to understand many of the components of systems thinking. And there are teachers in Turkey who are using systems thinking skills with children as young as 4 years old. And it is amazing the work that they are doing with students. And as they get a little older, like maybe 6 years old, they're starting to have them draw some stock flow diagrams just with one stock and one inflow and one outflow. to represent some problems from storybooks that they read, and also feedback loops. So it starts at a very young age. I believe young children are pretty systemic thinkers to begin with. And our education system takes that away from them because we teach in separate subjects, which is not a natural way to learn about the world. But we have lots of evidence that it is possible for children to learn systems thinking and to create some quite sophisticated system dynamics models at the secondary school level. And so the problem is not so much the children. I think the children are quite excited and pick up the tools quickly. The problem is the teachers, because they have been trained in an old method, and it's very difficult for them to change their thinking, because when you start doing systems thinking and system dynamics, students begin to ask questions that teachers are not ready for. They are thinking in much broader terms, because I think systems thinking opens up their thinking and allows them to have a view of a problem from many different perspectives. And especially for mathematics teachers who are used to going at a problem in one path usually and having one answer, this is very challenging and a little scary for the teacher. But there are lots of teachers out there who are willing to learn a new method. Those are the teachers we need to attract, because it changes the environment in the classroom. It is much more exciting, and the students are okay if the teacher cannot answer all their questions, as long as it looks like the teacher is trying to understand the problem and is a learner with them. They will have confidence in the teacher as well. So I have found this transformative in the way that I taught. And what I saw were capabilities in the students said to me, we must bring this to education, because it really provides them a way to understand the world. And they listen to the news. They listen to the news, and it is not very hopeful for them. They see all these problems in the news. It is our responsibility as educators to give them the tools to understand this, to give them hope that they can understand this and make better decisions. So after I finished teaching at the secondary school level, I wanted to train teachers. So I went back to school and got my PhD in system science so that I could train teachers in how to do this. I have some books of lessons that can be used in the secondary school in both mathematics and in the teaching of system dynamics modeling for students. And I developed some online courses for teachers to break the very large introductory system dynamics courses I saw into smaller pieces that directly related to the teaching of mathematics and the teaching of science that most secondary school teachers would recognize. Instead, so much of business examples or economics examples, the examples that I use talk more about the problems that many teachers use in their classrooms at the secondary school level. And then a lot of the lessons that I developed for my students, the teachers are able to download in those courses. So they have some lessons ready to go. And of course, with Stella Online, they have the ability to use a free modeling software to get started. Now you can't create large models, but that's okay. Most teachers are fine with just fairly small models. And that's a great tool that is available to all teachers everywhere to use in their classes. So we have many things that are possible now for teachers to use in their classrooms to get started and a way for them to learn. I think we need to start infecting teacher training programs. We need the teachers to start learning this as part of their training for being a teacher, so that they don't have to try to learn it on top of everything else they have to do when they're already in the classroom. And in the people in Turkey have, I don't know if you know about Gantt charts. Those I think are used in businesses for projects, for planning out. Well, Emre Gotepi, who is the main force behind helping the teachers get started in Turkey with systems thinking, has created a Gantt chart 30 years out. And they have multiple areas, very systemic approach to the infusion of systems thinking in pre-college education, translating storybooks into Spanish that are especially good with systems thinking concepts, also trying to talk to professors and teacher training programs. They have a lot that they're doing. I think more than anywhere in the world, they have the ideas for how to bring systems thinking and system dynamics to pre-college education. And they are now part of the System Dynamics Society pre-college education SIG, so special interest group. So they will be doing some special presentations in each of our meetings to show how they are using systems thinking in classrooms. And we are using a lot of the ideas that they've developed in our special interest group meetings. So I'm very excited about learning from them as well. I'm sorry, this is more than an introduction. It's kind of like a whole
It's amazing. It's amazing, Diana.
But,
thank you. But
yeah,
this
so
really
I'm sorry,
inspiring.
let Christine, I'm sorry, I keep putting Christina, that was my husband's mother's name, Christina, so I kind of keep, Christine, let Christine introduce herself and talk about her work, and then we can go back and talk some more, answer questions, whatever.
Thank you, Diana.
Yes.
Really inspiring. Hello, Christine, how are you?
And it's okay. My Spanish name is Cristina, so
See, yes,
that's fine in this context.
That's true. Let's could you maybe introduce yourself and also your experience? I have a question connecting with the words before Diana said about system thinking and system dynamics, and I was thinking about language. And system thinking is useful to think about system thinking and system dynamics as a language to express the word, to talk about the word. And I was thinking about your question, Christine, in your presentation about how we try sometimes as a researcher to ask questions really tied with our way to think the word and our way to express the word through the language. Could you introduce maybe yourself and your experience about that really interesting question? I think it's really there is a connection here between how we could learn and teach system thinking and the idea about language and the idea about how we represent reality. And welcome, Christine.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for, oh, sorry, can you hear things in my background? Okay.
No,
anyway,
no, it's okay.
So my name is Chirstine Tang, and I'm a PhD student in interdisciplinary studies in system dynamics at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. And I still consider myself a beginner in this field of system dynamics, systems thinking. And what Jorge was referring to in my presentation, I actually was talking about how we might be biased by the tools that we know.
Yes,
and we are biased, true. And asking the specific questions that we ask.
Yeah, that's okay. And I was thinking about the concept of language. If system dynamics is a language, and like a language, like another language, we can express some things even better than the reductionism point of view, maybe. But also we have some limitations. And I think your research questions, you propose research question about what could be the limitation of the tool, what could be the limitation of the traditional way to think about reality, and of course, system thinking and system dynamics could.
I cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. It was something with my headphones. Sorry. Can you hear me right now? Yes. Okay. Thanks. I was saying that I think here in your questions, Chirstine, I can find some connections between the way we see the world and the way we express the word using a language, and also the limitation of language. All language are limited. Even our linear way to think about reality and thinking about only pattern, only events, and I think your question in your presentation could be related with the idea of language, with the idea of how we think about the world, and how we try to be aware about the limitation of the language, the limitation of our models, the limitation of our paradigms, and I think this is the way to try to get more knowledge, and with that knowledge, better understanding and better policies to drive action. What do you think about this issue? How we can use system dynamics as a tool, but also as a language or as a paradigm? What do you think, Chirstine, is better in your experience?
Yes, I believe it can be used. Sorry, I can't think of something right off the top of my head because I haven't thought much of this. I just think of system dynamics as a language of stocks, flows, and feedback is very important in this too.
Okay, let me explain. For example, Diane was talking about stories. And when we express a problem, a situation, we use common language to explain the story. And with the story, we define the feedback loop, and then we use another tool in language to define the stock and flows and the equations, and then we run the model, and we express the behavior using stocks and flows. But what do you think could be the most difficult step in the methodology to try to describe the reality, and also try to describe research problems? I guess that was a point you make in your presentation, Chirstine.
I said that's an open research question. I don't have the answer to that.
No. We're talking just then.
Yes.
Sure.
So the hardest, the most difficult part of.
Go ahead.
I'm not really sure. I think the equations, like developing equations, is the most difficult part of system dynamics.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you have a point here. maybe we can think how the students could solve that difficulty about the equations, for example. And I can buy, maybe Diana, in your experience, why or how the students could manage equations, and what is the background the professor and also the students need to cope with that kind of expressions, mathematical expression. I think that could be the most challenging thing in terms of try to express in different ways in the different sub languages of the system dynamics system thinking paradigm. What do you think, Diane, about that?
Well, so stock and flow is just a different representation for a lot of what we do in mathematics. So if you start with some kind of behavior that you're trying to replicate and you keep the models very small, then the mathematics inside each component is just arithmetic. It's just addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, which students can understand pretty well. I think that was one of Barry Richmond's idea is, you know, you keep it simple so that lots of people can understand it. The stock flow diagram is like a blueprint of the problem. It's like a plumbing diagram in a house, you know, what's connected to what. And you just keep the pieces, the equations in each piece very, very simple. And if you start small, then you can build a little bit at a time to allow the equations to become a little bit more complicated. But in my opinion, you don't want the equations to become very complicated because the stock flow diagram should tell you a lot about the story. It should tell you a lot about the problem, just the way it's designed, the way it's set up. And then you just go in for the simple kind of equations in each piece. And I think it's just like anything new that you learn. You start small with very simple problems and very simple equations, and you just build a little bit at a time. And students can learn this. I think Al Tkachky and Rob Quaden, who were the authors of the book, The Shape of Change, which is a wonderful, wonderful systems thinking and system dynamics book, said students starting at about age 11 can begin to build these small simulation models. He said that was the age when they could build a small model and actually answer questions about the model. So again, I think we have to allow ourselves a way to progress in stages and not expect that if we're just beginners, we're going to be able to understand or build a model of very much sophistication. We have to allow ourselves to grow and understand in stages, otherwise it becomes so overwhelming.
Yes.
And I think it's the same thing with equations. Yeah.
Yes, I also want to point out that in the presentation I also talked about model boundaries and how to define a problem that's very difficult.
Yes.
Diana also said we need to bound ourselves at different levels too. Yes, it's okay. Her dog.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Christine, you were talking about boundaries and assumptions. This is really interesting. It's a way to, I think system thinking is also about try to improve your science skills, to try to put the assumptions of your thinking, try to model your assumptions, try to be involved in a process to improve your mental models, and to share openly your models with others and learn together. And the professor, the teacher, um, should share that view of thinking, and also the student. And I guess here we have a lot of challenges to change the paradigm and try to be more open. I think the curricula is still too rigid, too rigid. And I was thinking also about this, I think great opportunity with this disruption in education with the pandemic. What do you think about that? It was an opportunity to change. For example, I guess it was a great opportunity to use simulation models, for example, to explain and to engage students using these information technologies like Zoom or like any other one. Do you think we take advantage of the opportunity to try to use more system dynamics and more simulation tools in this crisis, or do you think we wasn't prepared, we weren't prepared here to take advantage of this opportunity? Let me say that. What do you think?
Well, I think that teachers were so overwhelmed with having to change from in-class instruction to online instruction that they were not very interested in trying to do new things in their classes. I had one of my students who was the chairperson of a science department who had taken my first course a year ago and really wanted to start some things in his classes. But he said just trying to adapt to teaching everybody online was too overwhelming. And that he said he was not going to try to introduce system dynamics in that environment because it was already too hard to try to just learn how to teach online so fast. But this year, he took my second class this summer. He is very interested in bringing it in. I don't think you can add it to something that is so overwhelming as teachers have had to deal with this last year with teaching students online. I think once they have a little bit of comfort, either they're continuing to teach online or they're going back to the classroom, then they might. Otherwise, it's just too difficult. And I don't think you can expect someone just starting. Now, if a teacher already was using this in their classroom, they would probably continue to use it some places when they teach online. But I think it's too hard for people just at the very beginning to try to do both things. It's just too stressful.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Chirstine, you really, I think in a really successful way, you cooperate to support the seminar in your university. Could you share some learnings about how we can keep that level of success in a seminar like your seminar? I think it's really interesting experience, and we can learn a lot about that seminar in your university. And I have to congratulate you at your university because it's a really nice seminar. And how could you achieve that kind of success using system dynamics and teaching system dynamics and mentoring system dynamics, let me say, using online technology?
So WPI System Dynamics has been an online program since 2001 or 2004. I'm bad at remembering years. So the professors have a lot of experience being online, but this meeting that you're talking about, the WPI System Dynamics collective learning meetings, we don't call them seminars because we don't want it to be sound so formal, we encourage people to present work in progress and have discussions like this. So everybody has a seat at the table to talk. And I actually am curious if Dana will be able to, I won't be able to talk later, but right now I guess we're the only ones talking. And I have to credit a lot of my colleagues who came before me. They started this and then I just continue it. But we invite people from around the world, so we don't limit ourselves to just a small group within WPI, so anybody can join. And I organize meetings, I send out things on social media, and we've grown because of this social media presence, and it's actually a pretty powerful way to connect with people. Mainly it's just being organized and being friendly and trying to include everybody. That's how I guess we've been successful so far.
It's really interesting. I think we can got here some really tips to our attendees here in our encounter. I think we can think about close the session, but we have one question from the public. I'm going to share this question with you, and maybe we can close the session with, of course, giving you all the recognition about your great talks and your insights and this amazing dialogue. Here in Latin America, people said, and I agree with that, we still we have a lot to improve about how we can apply system dynamics in the classroom. People find a lot of difficulties. What could be your more useful tips to try to make successful the strategies to apply system dynamics and system thinking in the classroom? Again, thank you for your support. I think it's really, we are really happy and really honored having you today with your talks and also today with this dialogue. Let's try first with Diana. Diana, some tips for our teachers.
I think you either need to find an online class that you can take in the summer when you're not teaching, to get this extra training, or you need to find some fairly simple books. Now, the Creative Learning Exchange has some good books that you could get, and then you could work through some of those lessons. And when you feel comfortable with a lesson, then maybe you use it in your classroom. The Shape of Change is just a really good book. I would suggest that would be one from the Creative Learning Exchange. I think you can buy the book, or some of their lessons are available just to download for free. So that's what you've got somehow to go through an experience yourself that you want to use with your students, so that you feel comfortable taking it into the classroom. I think that's the best way to do it. Find lessons that are already successful with students and try them yourselves, and then you can try to do it in a classroom. That's what I think.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you very much. And Christine, what do you think? Tips to be successful learning system dynamics. What do you think?
With learning system dynamics or trying to teach system dynamics?
And also try to teach. Yes, sure.
So I come from WPI. I started at WPI as an undergrad, so I don't really have this experience of being an outsider, I guess. So I don't know how much to say to that, but I am actually curious if it would help for people who want to teach system dynamics and learn system dynamics to partner with someone like Diana, who could come to a classroom and start demonstrating how to teach system dynamics to their kids. I don't know if that's possible, or if you've ever considered that. Sorry to put you under the bus or whatever that phrase is, to put you on the spot and volunteer you for this.
So it's not the problem is distance, right? Yeah. We have to do this online because the people who are part of this conference or this day of learning about systems, they're not in my backyard, and I cannot travel to their school. Yeah. But part of what we're trying to do in our pre-college SIG meetings is to have teachers who are using it demonstrate how they use it and then provide a lesson for the people who participate so that there is that way to share information. And once people start trying things in their classroom, they also have a group of people they can start communicating with. So I think that will work. Also, Christina, I was wondering if in the chat you might put in the URL for your, it wouldn't be a URL, but a way to connect to your meetings that you have. That would be really helpful. And if people are interested in being part of our SIG, they could email me and I could put them on our SIG. You don't have to be a member of the System Dynamics Society to attend our SIG meetings. So then I could put you on the list and you could be invited to the SIG meetings. Our next one is in October. We're going to have one about every 2 months, October, and then probably January, and then March. Then we could invite you and you could watch the presentation and ask questions. So that would work. It has to be online because we really need to reach people all over the globe, not just in our own areas.
Yes, thank you, Diana. And I guess this kind of efforts, like try to talk about the issue, this encounter, for example, the Latin American System Dynamics Conference, the International System Dynamics Conference, the workshops, I guess we are creating a better environment to try to find skills, to try to find good experience, to try to find mentorships. And I guess I'm pretty sure we are better than 20 years ago, I guess. We're better right now. But of course, all the possibilities and all the people who would like to learn is too much, I guess. And we need to use ways to multiply our efforts and try to be with people with the right insight, with the right case, with the right tool, with the right book. But I think it's amazing your all the teachings and all the learnings you share with us. Thank you, Diana. Again, thank you for supporting us. Thank you, Christine. Yes. You are working in your own spaces to promote the field, and I guess that's the most important thing. And thank you, Kate, for doing that. And thank you for being with us today. We are proud having you today. Bye bye. See you next time. Thank you.